Hello, my name is Sam Feltham and welcome to Expert Interviews here on Smash the Fat. Now with me today is a very kind of last minute interview. We really only kind of organised it at the end of last week, but we've managed to fit him in after trying to schedule it for so long because he's been incredibly busy with his new book, The Medicinal Chef, Healthy Every Day. It's chef and nutritionist Dale Pinnock. How you doing, Dale?
I'm very well, how are you?
Fantastic.
We finally got it nailed. We've been talking about this for how long?
It could be almost a year. I was kind of looking at the emails this morning. I kind of noticed a Christmas 2013 email exchange that we had. But it's all good. It's all good. We get there in the end, you know. It's absolutely fine. And we kind of came together originally from one of my coaches who's based in Northern Ireland, who saw you on a TV show, and he kind of forwarded me about you and your details and things, and yeah, we finally made it happen after a year.
Finally got it sorted. Fantastic.
That's right. So before we kind of get into the book itself, The Medicinal Chef, Healthy Every Day, what's your background? Because you're a nutritionist as well as a chef.
It's quite a convoluted background, really. I've been cooking all my life, literally from the age of about 4. As soon as me and my sister were old enough to know what a saucepan was, my mum would like hoik us in the kitchen, and we'd always be involved in preparing the family meal. So I've always cooked and always been a bit of a pig as well, and always liked my food. So I've always had that kind of interest there. But due to my own health issues, actually skin issues, from the age of about 10, I started getting more interested in the nutritional side aspect of food and how a healthy diet can have an impact on different conditions, different illnesses. So I did my first degree in human nutrition. I did a second degree in herbal medicine because I was getting more and more interested in plant biochemistry. I didn't necessarily want to be a herbalist, but it was kind of to try and unpack some of that plant biochemistry that can have like an active function. And then did my postgraduate in nutritional medicine.
As well.
Now I bring it all together. And then I worked in commercial kitchens on and off. I mean, whilst I was studying, I was working in everything from like sort of hotels to gastropubs and everything in between, really. So just sort of bring those two worlds together, rather than just kind of telling someone, yeah, eat more of this and less of that. Putting it into something practical, putting it in a practical context so that it's usable.
Yeah, so you're kind of coming at it at the stance of a medicinal approach, hence the name, the Medicinal Chef, and also a chef's approach in terms of making food tasty and practical as well. Because the one thing that's always a pushback comment is that, you know, healthy eating, it's expensive, it's time consuming, and it's just laborious in general. So kind of what's your response to that?
Well, that's good, just complete rubbish. They haven't tried my food then. That's what I say. Basically, I try to shatter all of those illusions. It doesn't have to be expensive. I did a thing with ITV News a couple of years ago. We were working with 2 girls that were living at a YMCA in Croydon, and their combined weekly budget for food was £15 for the 2 of them. And they were relying on, you know, sort of frozen food, supermarket chains and those kind of outlets. They were running out of money, and they were obviously acutely aware of how this diet was affecting their health because they felt dreadful. So they wanted to actually do something about it and address it. We went around all the local markets in Croydon, and we filled up carrier bags full of fresh produce. Carrier bags, and we spent about £8. Made a big vat of a spinach and sweet potato curry. Worked out 60 pence per portion. Wow. We were able to make a huge, great big potful for £2.50, and were then able to freeze portions, so they were stockpiling good, healthy food. So that's the first thing. It doesn't have to be expensive. If you're relying on organic vegetable deliveries, or you know, going to some of these fancy shops, then yeah, it's going to cost you a lot of money. If you shop smart, if you become more aware of what's in your local area, then there's, you know, you'll be amazed at how affordable it is. The ease. Let me put it this way. I'm all over the place all of the time. My schedule's mental most of the time. I can't be bothered to spend hours in the kitchen as much as I'd love to. You know, I want something that's obviously going to do me good, and it's going to taste good, but it's going to be ready in like half an hour. So a lot of the dishes that I make tend to be one-pot wonders, or with only 2 or 3 processes involved. And then in terms of taste, well, you can make the most beautiful food that's still good for you. You can, I make curries and pizzas and burgers and all kinds of stuff. Good food that has to be good for you too. It's just a case of getting creative and playing around with certain flavours. I mean, the first challenge I always put to people is like, right, what's your favourite dish? And if they say, I don't know, spaghetti bolognese or whatever their favourite has to be, it's like, right, okay, let's reinvent that. Let's make it healthy, and let's make something that's still within a kind of spectrum of flavours and textures and aromas that you enjoy. Start making your favourite things a little bit better, and that's the place to get started.
And one of the easiest ways to kind of stop this being so time consuming, apparently, is to do batch cooking. So kind of, like on a lazy weekend, you make these big vats of spinach and sweet potato curry or whatever you're making. You can make kind of, big batches of bolognese. It's kind of what me and my fiance do, is make these kind of, batch cooking, and then you put them all into, separate Tupperwares, put them in the freezer, and then all you have to do is defrost the Tupperware, and then you might spiralize some courgettes, or you might just cut up some aubergine or something like that, just to have it with some more vegetables, and just to kind of stodge it out, so to speak.
Yeah.
And things like that. It doesn't have to be amazingly complicated or anything like that, and it's amazing what you can do just with some simple herbs and spices.
Absolutely, yeah. Just learn how to build flavour. Always start with aromatics. Whenever I cook anything, I usually work on a base of like red onion, bit of garlic, maybe you can add like ginger or chilies, whatever. Season it at that point, and then just build the flavour. When you do that, you'd be amazed at how kind of complex and spectacular things can taste. So it really isn't difficult. Really, really isn't difficult.
Definitely. And one of the sections in the book is healthy indulgences. So yeah, because that's another thing that people kind of have against healthy eating, is that you can't really indulge yourself, or it's bland, tasteless food or something like that.
My favourite expression: beards, sandals, and wonga wonga berries. That's what people think it is, and it's not about that at all. You can have amazing treats. You can make, one that's kind of become quite well known now, I guess, and lots of different people have done versions of it, is a chocolate mousse made with avocado, for example. When you think about it, it probably sounds completely rank, but when you actually taste it, it tastes fantastic. So the avocado, because it's got quite a mild flavour, it becomes like a carrier for any flavours that you add to it. If you're adding loads of like cacao powder and like fresh orange juice and some melted coconut oil and like a little bit of stevia or something to sweeten it, all you can taste is chocolate, but it's got that nice creamy mouthfeel. So with a little bit of creativity, you can still have those indulgences. Again, it's like looking at the things that you enjoy and thinking, right, how can I make it better? How can I make a healthier version of the things that I already like eating? So rather than trying to force yourself into something that's completely brand new or trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, you actually take the things you already enjoy and give them a facelift.
That's an ideal analogy right there.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I kind of get from you as well, and in the back of the book, you have kind of the second section, which is the food pharmacy, about vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, and also fat and fatty acids.
Yes.
And it sounds that you're a chef that isn't afraid of fat, and you kind of go against the low-fat craze that's around.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I had a bit of an early lunch today because I was doing this interview, and I made a great big thing of cavolo nero and leeks cooked with about a tablespoon of butter, salt, black pepper. We need these fats in our diet. It's such an important spectrum of nutrients. This whole kind of low-fat nonsense that's been spouted as being the healthy idealism for such a long time has caused, well, it's been one of the biggest public health cock-ups in history. And if anyone knows the whole story of Ansel Keys and the amount of fraudulent data that was actually responsible for these public health campaigns from the late 50s onwards, will actually know what rubbish it was actually built on. I'm pretty obsessed with fatty acids. I'm completely obsessed with omega-3 and fatty acid balance. I guess that's something that is like a bit of a recurrent theme in the work that I do. I mean, I've actually just finished the manuscript of another book that's coming out at the end of this year and it's actually built around 3 principles. I often get asked, I should imagine everyone that works in the field of nutrition gets asked this. It's like, what should I be eating then? What is the healthy diet? What is the right thing to do? I wish I had the answer to that, but the thing is, it's such a young science, it's such a frustrating science that we just haven't got that answer yet. But I would say if you focused on 3 aspects, you'd be hedging your bets. And that is blood sugar balance, fatty acid balance, and micronutrient density. If you bring those 3 elements into play, then chances are you'll be getting as close to the right thing as anyone could possibly suggest. Because these fatty acids, for example, I mean, the whole balance between omega-3 and omega-6, that's something that's really got out of kilter, especially at the tail end of the whole low-fat, low-saturated fat health message that's been going on for the last 30 or 40 years. Because everyone switched over to vegetable oil, because everyone switched over to margarine, everyone started consuming far too much of omega-6. Okay, omega-3 and omega-6 are both important, but it's all about the balance. We only need a very small, finite amount of omega-6 every single day, and that gets converted into GLA and does all sorts of beneficial things within, like the hormonal system and nervous system. It's pretty important. Once you consume more than you need, it gets put through a different metabolic pathway. One of the key end products of fatty acid metabolism, a group of compounds called prostaglandins, right? Prostaglandins are mediators of chemical reactions. One of the main things they mediate is inflammation and pain. 3 main types of prostaglandins: series 1, series 2, series 3. Series 1 and series 3 are anti-inflammatory, reduce pain. Series 2 are pro-inflammatory. They instigate inflammation, they exacerbate inflammation, and they enhance pain signaling. Now, different dietary fats will actually be metabolized to form different types of prostaglandin. Omega-6, once we take in more than we need, gets put down the pathway that turns it into a series 2 prostaglandin. So too much omega-6 can actually cause and exacerbate inflammation in the body. Now, on average in the UK, we are consuming 23 times more omega-6 than we need per day.
That sounds like a lot.
Yeah, that's kind of a lot. So there's a huge amount of subclinical, as in, you know, your left knee isn't going to suddenly swell up. Chronic inflammatory changes in tissues, and that inflammatory damage has been linked to things like cardiovascular disease, for example. The early stages of plaque formation within blood vessels are triggered by inflammation. You get inflammation within the endothelium, the lining of the blood vessels, and that inflammatory change then sort of instigates a healing response, and that's when things like cholesterol and all these other things that are just minding their own business, they're floating around the body doing their thing, they get roped in, and then before you know it, you've got a plaque. So managing that inflammation is pretty important. I say move back over to the real thing, the saturated fats, and then really try and to up omega-3. See, I go down the rabbit hole, I go off on tangents. You might have to kind of rein me in a little bit. You might, because otherwise that's it. I'll just go.
It's fantastic to hear a chef and a nutritionist to talk about these things, and it's fantastic that you are a chef and a medical nutritionist as well. That you can bring these two worlds together that are kind of so important. You know, food in the home, and also kind of, you know, looking after people's health through food as well, and kind of one of the things in the book is that you've got this great key to the symbols kind of throughout the book, you know, S for skin, J for joints and bones, and like there are like meals that are good for your respiratory system, your immune system, metabolic system, heart, circulation, digestive system as well. And kind of the digestive system is so important, and it's quite interesting when people kind of go from, say, a regular low-fat fake food diet and they'll come over to a real foods diet. They can have some problems with their digestive system as their gut microbiome has to adapt with that. What's kind of your best meal for digestive health?
It's for overall digestive health. Gut flora is definitely the key. I would really focus on prebiotic foods. Obviously, there's the probiotic supplements and all the rest of it that you can take. But in terms of really nurturing and building your gut flora, really enhancing the colony, it's all about the prebiotic foods. And to be honest, if you're consuming like a real food diet, if you're consuming whole foods, you're going to be taking in huge amounts of prebiotics anyway. There's things like FOS, fructooligosaccharides, and inulin. Those are the two most common ones. Basically what they are is very, very large molecular weight, undigestible sugars. And these sugars, like, pretty much intact as they move throughout the digestive tract. They don't get broken down by the usual carbohydrate digesting enzymes. But when they get to the large intestine, they will actually work as a food source for the bacterial colony that's already there. And a fermentation process begins to occur. As that flora starts to ferment and break down those sugars, it's kind of like giving teenagers champagne and Viagra. It's like reproductive mayhem ensues, and this bacterial colony will start to replicate, it will start to strengthen. The other thing that happens is it's good housekeeping for the gut as well. As those bacteria start to break down and ferment those sugars, they actually start to release other compounds, things like short-chain fatty acids. There's something called butyric acid, for example, that gets released as they ferment these prebiotic compounds. Butyric acid actually helps to repair the lining of the gut as well. So that's probably the best all-round thing. I mean, you find, I would say, yeah, alliums are going to be your best bet, really. So garlic, onions, leeks, those kind of things. Loads and loads of inulin in there. Jerusalem artichokes.
There you go.
There's things that have got really quite an unpleasant nickname. The nickname is artichokes because they've got a lot of inulin and FOS in there, and they can kind of cause warfare for a few hours. But that's actually a good thing. It's a good thing. Obviously, if you're like going out on a date or something, then kind of give them a miss. But if you're at home and you're happy to ride that out, then that could be a really, really good hit of. It's going to be positive for you.
So possibly having kind of artichokes with a homemade aioli or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I do a Jerusalem artichoke soup. So you've got garlic, you've got onions, you've got the Jerusalem artichokes, you've got everything in there together. And then FOS, you find in things like sweet potatoes, for example. That's the thing that makes sweet potatoes sweet, is fructooligosaccharides. So I would say that's probably the best thing for overall digestive health. But obviously, we're starting to understand so much more about the gut microflora anyway. I mean, we've known for donkey's years that they're beneficial for overall digestive health. They regulate many aspects of digestion, but it goes way, way, way beyond that now. We now know that the bacterial colony in your gut will influence what the rest of your immune system's doing. There's two-way communication between the immune system and gut flora. So pretty important for overall defences.
And it's really important to cultivate that through these real foods that you're kind of talking about there. So you build it up, and then you build up your immune system. It's kind of a downstream effect.
Yeah.
Of that.
Because basically with it, throughout the gut, you've got little patches of tissue, and it's called gut-associated lymphatic tissue. Little patches called Peyer's patches. Now these Peyer's patches are essentially like a surveillance station. You think about it, the gut is obviously a perfect way for opportunistic pathogens to enter the body. It's like a direct interface between the outside world and the inner workings of the body. So as such, there has to be quite tightly regulated immunological stuff going on there to stop that from happening. So these little patches of tissue, Peyer's patches, have got quite a dense colony of white blood cells within them. They're constantly monitoring gut contents and then relaying that back to the immune system as and when necessary. We now know that at that level, there's communication between gut bacteria and cells like antigen-presenting cells and these localized immune cells. There's a direct communication that then causes like cytokine cascades and talks to the rest of the immune system. And that's revelatory stuff. That's really, really incredible stuff. And yeah, it's such a fundamental for good health.
It's a fascinating system, the human body, isn't it? And it's pretty complicated. Now, not all of that is really kind of in the main cookbook, the Medicinal Chef.
No.
But you have these other 4 books that you've been working on. I don't know how you've done this.
Yes.
that go into detail about how to treat particular conditions through good food.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like they're kind of split into two halves. Now, I should pick one up here and show you. Shameless. Right, the first half of the book basically is all the science. So, you've got kind of like key anatomy and physiology, so you understand the structures, you understand what's there, what it does, how it works. Then that kind of moves on into explaining how nutrition fits into that. So it'll talk about the pathophysiology, so when normal function starts to go wrong, and then how nutrition will actually be able to interact at that point. Because the food that we eat, our nutrition directly influences our physiology. Blatantly.
Absolutely.
So if you understand how it will affect it in relation to your specific concerns, you can understand how to manipulate it to play a role in your own healthcare. So that's what the first half of the books do. The second half is, well, it's a recipe book. Second half, nice recipes, beautifully photographed, all that kind of stuff. So it's really bridging that gap. Obviously, with the other books, they've had to be quite generic because they've really been showcasing the idea that food can be a therapeutic tool and healthy food can be really, really enjoyable. These ones are going much more into the science. I think it's really important that this information isn't dumbed down. That's one of the things that really, really, really annoys me. Is when the subject is talked about in the media, it's either completely overplayed, making the most ridiculous claims ever.
Just so black and white, isn't it?
Yeah. Or it's it's like it's got antioxidants in it and it's good. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's so dumbed down. Yeah. So I think it's important to really, really put the science across. It's not completely baffling. It's not like we're not talking about metabolic pathways and interactions between complex things. It's very, very straightforward. I think we need to have that information. I think we need to be empowered. We need to be educated, and it's a subject that shouldn't be dumbed down. It's a subject that really needs to get a lot more attention.
Definitely, it's a very, very good point. That if a condition does affect you or a family member or a close friend, then it's important that you understand it. Just kind of the basic science of exactly what's going on, and then you can kind of make more educated and informed choices in terms of your food from there, which have such a massive impact on how we regenerate and how we're able to live our lives as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It can have such a profound impact. I think sometimes it's not really given the credit that it's due. There's certain conditions. If I get hit by a bus, trust me, broccoli is the last thing on my mind.
Yeah.
There are certain things, especially these sort of chronic lifestyle conditions that are burdening the NHS, for example. Cardiovascular disease, obesity, type 2 diabetes. These kind of things, I can think of very few other interventions that will have as much impact on these conditions as diet and nutrition. But then obviously there's other genetic things where food will do absolutely nothing for you. It's got
exactly. If I've got an arm falling off.
Exactly. I do always try to be very, very candid about the limitations of nutritional medicine as much as its strengths. Because we have to be realistic. We have to be. I don't like to give people false hope about things, but then at the same time, when there's evidence for something working about it, then I'm up there and I'm championing it.
Exactly. It is about following the evidence and kind of putting everything through a SWOT analysis, basically.
Yeah.
It just seems kind of, just along the first period of medical science, they kind of, just totally ignored food, really, to begin with a few renegades kind of at the beginning. But it's really kind of making a second revolution that the science is really moving forward with this, and we're able to prove, right, this is what happens when you eat this, and these are the knock-on effects, and these are the conditions that arise, and things like that. So we kind of need to focus on some sound strategies on how to either prevent these conditions or reverse as much as we can these conditions and things like that. Now the 4 books that you've got there, it's heart disease, diabetes,
anxiety and depression,
which I think is a really important one, and it does kind of go underneath the radar a little bit. because the depression has hit my family. My dad committed suicide due to manic depression, yeah, I mean, it's something that I'm kind of passionate about and trying to get the word out that, you know, good food and smart exercise can alleviate depression so much easier. It's not going to make it go away completely, you know, it's just really going to kind of bring it down a notch or two and make it a lot more manageable for people. So kind of when it comes to anxiety and depression, kind of what's your general advice there?
It's an area where there's actually a huge evidence base, actually. I mean, if anyone's interested in this, I really encourage you to visit FAB Research. It's run by a friend of mine, Dr. Alex Richardson. It's food and behaviour research. Go over to there, you will find several thousand peer-reviewed journal articles that cover basically how food and nutrition can influence the brain and nervous system. Definitely one of the first places to start, without sounding like a broken record, is fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids have been so widely researched in this context. We know that DHA, for example, docosahexaenoic acid, one of the main omega-3 fatty acids, one of the longer chain ones, is an important structural compound within the nervous system. Okay, so it actually maintains and regulates the myelin sheath, maintains and regulates receptors. Also, it does produce something called resolvins, which can help with inflammation. Then you've got EPA, which is actually involved in receptor function as well. It's involved in neurotransmitter release. It regulates the interaction between neurotransmitters and their receptors. So getting the fatty acids in the diet right can have a massive impact. Loads and loads of trials have been done in terms of fatty acid status and mood. We know that it elevates mood. We know that it stabilizes mood. We know that it enhances cognitive function and all of this kind of stuff. Key minerals, really important. So magnesium, iron, zinc, those three, there's definitely links with low mood. I mean, zinc and iron particularly, especially when you're looking at sort of quite chronic low levels in the diet. There's all sorts of links there. Blood sugar balance is really important. Obviously, if you're eating a diet that's sending your blood sugar all over the place, your mood's going to be up and down. You know, you're going to get that initial hit, the blood sugar's going to drop, you're going to feel absolutely dreadful. Okay, so that's kind of sweeping the dirt under the rug a little bit, because obviously if your mood's a little bit more even, then you're going to be able to deal with situations a little better. But it's still an important part of the picture. But I would say fatty acids are probably, in terms of evidence base, probably the strongest.
Most important thing. So make sure that you kind of make salmon burgers from the book, basically. have salmon burgers at least once a week.
Yeah.
I'd say that looks like a great recipe, by the way.
Oh, you've not tried it yet?
I haven't tried it yet. I'll be doing it this week. I'll definitely be doing it this week. I can't wait. And so, before I interrupted you, what was the fourth one? So we had heart disease, diabetes, anxiety and depression.
Digestion.
Digestion as well, which we've kind of covered as well. And when are those 4 books out? Because they're not quite out.
12th of February.
12th of February.
So
awesome.
Like less than a fortnight.
Excellent. So you can always buy it as a Valentine's present, which would be a bit weird, but you...
yeah, a book on digestion for a Valentine's present. Who's my match is dead.
That's right. That might be to the boyfriend. You know, here you go. Just saying. Yeah. You should probably sort that out. Anyway, fantastic. Well, I really appreciate your time today, Dale. It's greatly appreciated. People, go check out DalePinnock.com. That's DalePinnock.com, and make sure that you check out the Medicinal Chef Healthy Every Day on Amazon. If you're in the UK, make sure that you follow smashthefat.com/TMCUK, and that will help support the show. And if you're in the US, if you go to smashthefat.com/TMCUS and you buy the book through that, you'll help support the show, and of course help support Dale in his amazing mission of trying to, you know, educate people the right way and get the real food message out there.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for having me.
Not a problem, Dale. Not a problem. And
I got it sorted in the end.
Hooray! And is there any other places that people can kind of get in touch and sort of see what's going on in the world of Dale Pinnock?
Well, I get about a bit. So yeah, I mean, obviously there's more TV coming up here in the UK. So doing daytime TV. So if anyone's around to watch it, then yeah, just obviously through the social media and stuff. I usually put announcements regarding what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing a lot of live events this year. I'm going to be going up and down the country doing cookery demos and everything from shopping centres to bookshops to health food stores. We've got all sorts of weird and wonderful venues booked in. So obviously, if you
when does that start?
When does that start? Well, I actually did one 2 weeks ago in Stratford. Then I've got some more coming up in May, some in April. So
excellent. So yeah, people can kind of follow you on Twitter, like you on Facebook, and then kind of people will find out when and where they can see you live,
yes,
as well as on TV as well. Of course, fantastic. Well, again, thank you so much for your time today, Dale. Much appreciated. Everybody check out the Medicinal Chef, and yeah, if you're ever in London, because where are you based?
I live right out in the Fens. I'm between Cambridge and Ely, like sort of.
Ah, cool.
My nearest shop's 8 miles away. It's fantastic.
Excellent. That's lovely. Yeah. So yeah, if you're ever in London, hit me up, Dale.
We'll do.
And we'll hook up for some salmon burgers.
Excellent.
Fantastic. All right, Dale. Thanks again, mate.
Yeah.
And I'll speak. Oh, before you go, actually, this is how live kind of podcasts work. You totally forget to do something. We've got one more thing to do, and that's to hear a smash it out from Dale Pinnock. So on 3, I want you to shout "smash it out" to the camera.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3.
Smash it out.
That's what I'm talking about. We get everybody to do that. It's kind of our tagline, stroke, hashtag, basically. Anyway, again, thank you, Dale. Everybody check out The Medicinal Chef on Amazon via smashthefat.com/TMC UK or TMC US. All right, Dale, take care, mate, and I'll speak soon.